Yesterday was this week's new comic book day, so let's go ahead and take a look at next week with my top 10 comic picks for new comic book day, April 10th, 2024. Without further ado, let's get started. And first up at number 10, we have What If Venom number 1, the second print. This is sort of a separate reality, so a lot of this doesn't do super well in the secondary market, but still there's a market for these. People love them, especially the characters that Venom begins to portray, and or that have, the Venom symbiote. So if that is something that you're interested in, I don't think there's much spec value, that's why it's number 10, but I also think it could be interesting, which is why it's on the list. So, number 9 is Rat City number 1, and this appears to be out of the Spawn universe by Image Comics, and this one has a first appearance of Peter Cairn, an ex-soldier who received his Spawn powers from the nanites in his prosthetic legs, and he lives in a post-war future. Next up at number 8, we have Brave and the Bold number 54. Now this one does carry some, I don't want to say drama or controversy, but there is some debate towards whether or not this is truly the first appearance of the Teen Titans. It is the first team appearance of Aqualad, Kid Flash, and Robin. However, they don't use the name Teen Titans for another few issues until Brave and the Bold number 60. I did see on Key Collector a couple weeks ago that there was something going on with a live action regarding the Teen Titans. So, this is something that I did a little bit of my own research on to see if I wanted to spec on the book. And personally, I went ahead and forewent this issue. I didn't personally believe that this is the first appearance. I think if they don't call themselves the Teen Titans, it truly is not the Teen Titans. So for me, that first appearance of the Teen Titans is going to be Brave and the Bold number 60. But this one does also have first appearance of Mr. Twister, who possesses a stick that controls the weather. Now, this one, he almost looks like a pilgrim with Native American stick, so I don't know if that's what the lore is. But also, I forget what the character's name was, but I remember I believe it was in the Batman Superman animated show, the WB show from when I was a kid after school and whatever, that there was a guy who controlled the weather, but I don't think that it was Mr. Twister. So if any of you remember who that guy was, if you want to put that in the comments, I would be greatly appreciative. That's just a little piece of information I think would be interesting. So, alright, we have at number 7, Action Comics 1064. And this one is, it's the House of Brainiac Part 1 story arc. And it has actually the introduction of the army of Zarnians, and that is the race of Lobo, which I think is pretty cool. I think Lobo's going to be coming and making his way to DC movies sooner than later. I think we're all kind of hoping that Jason Momoa does it, especially I think now that Aquaman is done and over with, I think he can kind of move on to this. But moving right along at number 6, we have Sinister Sons number 3. So actually, it's Sinister Sons number 1. Was a book that I was interested in. I kind of skipped over number 2. Number 3 does actually look like it may have some some spec value with the first appearance of Spaceman Joe. So I don't know if that's going to end up being anything, but it is the first appearance in, pretty decent book that seems to be getting some traction. Now, anything DC, the last few have been DC, so I did want to let you know that those are actually coming out the Tuesday before April 9th, 2024. So let's move right along to number 5, and that is The Amazing Spider-Man number 47. This is the 1/100 black and white Disney variant. This one I just put a little bit higher on the list because the West Coast Avengers could end up being some sneaky Spec in the mid to long term as they bring those characters together in the MCU. I think West Coast Avengers is run by Hawkeye. It has White Vision, which we've already seen, and I think that's where Kate Bishop and Cassie Lang are a part of. I know they're part of the new, what is it? The Young Avengers, I want to say, as like in the newer run, but I think the West Coast Avengers is actually a fairly older run compared to the Young Avengers, I believe. I'm not super versed in it, in case you couldn't tell, but that's just what I think. So anyways, let's move things right along to number 4. We have Ultimate Black Panther number 1, and this is the 3rd print. This is the Peach Momoko cover, and it's just, anything Ultimate is going to be in my top 5 probably. But I did want to show my real number 4 is the Ultimate Black Panther number 1 3rd print, the 1/25. You know how I feel about later printing incentives. I think those usually jump right to my top 3, but you'll see why it's not part of my top 3 when we get into it with Ultimate Spider-Man number 1, the 4th print. Can't get enough of this, right? I mean, just Ultimate Spider-Man everywhere you go. Everyone's talking about it. It's the biggest book of the year, I think, so far. And, it already has a 4th print. This is the Marco Cicchetto variant. And let's move along to number 2. And that is Ultimate X-Men number 2. Lots of people are actually specking on this character. I'm not sure exactly how good that spec is going to turn out. If you're looking at a Disney Plus show, if you're looking at being in the MCU, if you're looking as far as a character to do well and become a big character in the comics, kind of like, I believe it was Punchline in the Batman universe, who kind of replaced Harley Quinn. That in Hell Arisen number 3, and then Batman 89. Those are kind of the 2 first appearances of her. Maybe one's the origin and one's the first appearance. But anyway, that became a huge character in, the DC universe. The Maystorm could very well do the same thing. And that's really the main spec on it, and people are... I've seen some things around the YouTube universe that stores are selling out. The pre-orders are selling out, so people are specking heavy on this book, which does mean that the secondary market could be diluted with many copies. So invest in this, just like anything else, but really invest in this at your own risk. But before I get to number 1, I did want to remind you I do have my PayPal and my Venmo in the description of the video. If you want to support the channel, that would be awesome. And if you leave a message with that support, I will actually read that message in the next video. And actually, sorry I've been gone for so long. I had to put some extra time into selling comics and cards lately. We're looking to take the kids to Disney World in about 2 years, so the extra income on the side and all that is really going to have to start taking a lot more of my time than it has been in the past. So anyways, let's move on to number 1, and that is Edge of Spider-Verse number 3. I mean, you can't really go wrong with anything Spider-Verse if it's a first appearance, right? And it's the first appearance of Star Spider. So again, any kind of spec going into the MCU or even the Sony universe, probably not going to get a lot. But we did see some huge values in Spider-Boy, but I can see Spider-Boy having a little bit different meaning than a Star Spider. But I still think it might be worth keeping an eye on if you're interested in Spider-Verse spec. There's some people that just, no matter what it is, if it's Spider-Verse spec, if it's Star Wars spec, and if it's, Spider-Verse Spec, Star Wars Spec, and like the Ultimate Universe Spec. That's what it was. People are jumping all over those. So thought I'd show this to you guys, and that's what makes it my number one. The fact that it's such a reliable, title, Edge of Spider-Verse, as far as Spec goes, that deserves the number one spot. So that's gonna be my number one for the week. Edge of Spider-Verse, number 3. Alright everybody, that's going to go ahead and do it for me in this video, and my top 10 comic picks for New Comic Book Day next week, April 10th, 2024. Again, if you did see anything that you liked from DC Luna, you're going to want to get those in your box, or stop by the store by next Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. I hope you all have a great week, rest of the week, going into the weekend. Thanks again for checking out this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, thanks again for checking out this video. Until next time, bye.